Okay, so I think we'll get started, everyone. So first things first, I must apologise. My webcam, for some reason, isn't working with GoToWebinar. So you'll see my my three colleagues and friends on camera, but you won't see me. So this is just a photo of me, so you know who is talking to you today, or one of the people that's talking to you today. So apologies for that. What I wanted to do before we start the webinar, obviously, we do these webinars as a way of marketing our company, Content Formula, and I just want to take just a few minutes of your time at the start of this webinar just to do our marketing spiel, to tell you who we are, what we do, so that you're aware of that, and then after that we will cut the marketing and we'll go on to the main topic of the webinar. So here it goes. So just a little bit about Content Formula. We are a digital workplace consultancy that specializes in SharePoint and Office 365. So really any part of the Office 365 ecosystem, including things like SharePoint, Teams, also including the Power Platform, so Power Apps, Power Automate, previously known as Flow, Power BI. So all of those tools, they're tools that we use in our everyday work when we're developing and working on solutions for our customers. We've been around since 2005. SharePoint was really the first tool that we started using in the Microsoft stack, and we've been using that since 2007. Now that's all we do, is we use just Office 365 and Microsoft products. We blend a user-led design philosophy with a strong Office 365 expertise. So we're very interested in the user experience, in user-led design, so that anything that we build is going to be really kind of carefully thought through in terms of what the users are going to experience with that app or with that tool. In terms of the services and solutions that we deliver and work with, so intranets is a big part of what we do, and always has been. So we've got two offerings really when it comes to intranets. So we use an intranet in a box product called Wisdom, which is one of the leading intranet in a box products. It sits on top of Office of SharePoint and Office 365, and really kind of enhances SharePoint and Office 365's intranet capabilities. So it adds a lot of extra stuff that you can't do with SharePoint on its own. Having said that, more and more companies these days are saying, well, look, SharePoint's got a lot better. We're really keen on not using an intranet in a box because we want to save costs, or we believe that it's best to keep things really pure. So companies ask us more and more these days to build intranets just using SharePoint and Office 365 without those products. So that's another service area where we can help out. We're also fairly recently got into the whole learning management systems side of things. So if you want some sort of training system, some kind of system to manage all of your online courses and manage the learner profiles and certifications of all of your people, or mandatory learning, all of that kind of stuff, but you want to do it through Office 365, we've got some solutions around that as well. And that, if you've got an intranet on SharePoint and Office 365, then there's some really nice opportunities to integrate those. Also, we build a lot of custom applications and tools using the Office 365 stack and the Power Platform as well. So, whether it's building some kind of a tool on SharePoint, or maybe a Teams app, or maybe some sort of Power app, or something that might combine multiple different technologies. We also do that kind of thing as well. And finally, we also offer managed services support. So if you've got an intranet on SharePoint or Office 365, or you've got some sort of Office 365 tool or application that you want supporting then we can provide that support as well. And we don't necessarily need to have built the application in order to support it. Just a little bit about sort of our partnerships. Partnerships are very, very important to Content Formula. We've got very strong partnerships with LiveTiles, who own Wisdom, the Intranet in a Box tool. We've also got a strong partnership with LMS 365, who provide a learning management system for Office 365. And then finally, Nintex is an important partner too. So Nintex provides a lot of different tools, including a very powerful workflow tool and forms tool, robotic process automation tools, and other bits and pieces. If you're interested, do get in touch. So we're gold and silver partners with Microsoft. We're also on G Cloud for the UK government, and throughout the years we have won various awards in the intranet space, and I'm sure we'll continue to do so in the near future. In terms of the types of companies that we work with companies of all shapes and sizes. We're not sort of wedded to any particular industry or even company size. Our smallest client, I think, to date is about 20 users, and our biggest client is 140,000 users. So that just gives you an idea of the breadth. We're quite big in financial services and also quite big in healthcare and pharmaceuticals, but that's just that's not by design. That's just circumstance, really. So at this point, I am now going to stop doing the marketing piece, and we can talk about the topic of today, which is to talk about AI in the digital workplace. And so, yeah, with a specific emphasis on AI in the digital workplace. And to join us today in this discussion, guys, do you want to introduce yourself, starting with you, Joe?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Joe Perry. I'm head of technology at Content Formula, and it's my role to really understand customers' requirements and turn them into solutions on Office 365 using the various tools we have available to us. And today, there's a lot of stuff going on with artificial intelligence inside of Office 365, and I think it's becoming more and more critical that we understand all of the stuff we can potentially start leveraging, whether it's just the data or actually some of the services that Microsoft are giving us. There's a lot of stuff we can already start doing with AI.
Great, thanks, Joe. So John, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm John Scott. I'm the head of user experience at Content Formula, and it's my job really to, whatever kind of digital workplace project or products that we're working on, it's my job to understand the needs of the business, the organization, and the needs of the users, and try and marry those together as well as possible in our designs, in our blueprints for how we think things should work, and then also to help evolve those over time.
And so finally, Esben, who doesn't actually work for Content Formula but is a guest today in our webinar. Esben, do please introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everybody, I'm Esben. I am, as you can hear, not living in England and not native English speaking. I live in Denmark, and I've been working within the digital workplace industry for about 20 years. For the last 12 years, I've been working for Wisdom and lately LiveTiles, and that's where I came to know Content Formula. We've been doing a few projects together. So over the last 12 years, I've been doing mainly intranet implementations. Currently, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing more freelance work. And I did this. I started this talk with Dan on a LinkedIn post I did on AI, but I guess we'll get back to that.
Great. Great, thanks very much, Esben. So guys, yeah, as you all know, the topic today is AI in the digital workplace. And I thought what would be interesting is just to do a very quick poll at the start to see where you guys are in terms of AI in your own organizations. So if you could have a quick vote on the poll. And just give it another few seconds to get the votes in. We've got 89. Yeah, so we got 89% people have voted. So I'm going to close the poll now and share the results with you. So 50% of you have not started anything yet when it comes to AI. This is quite interesting, actually quite encouraging. 38% of people are experimenting, so that's really good to see. I'm sure, Esben, you'd like to see that result. And 13% of you have already got AI-driven processes in place. So that's encouraging to see. Actually, the results that are better than I'd have expected. So that's really interesting. So let's get on with the main topic of the webinar. So Esben, I wanted to talk to you because the reason that we're doing this webinar today is that you posted on LinkedIn, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, maybe a bit more, in the middle of lockdown. You posted something saying that you were very pleased you got a really high grade in your thesis, and your thesis was about AI in the digital workplace. And this kind of really piqued my attention. I thought, oh, that sounds really cool. I then at that point said, come on, Esben, let's do a webinar about AI in the digital workplace. And you took up my offer. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what your thesis was all about, and some of the kind of the research you did and the findings and conclusions from your thesis?
Yeah, and thank you very much for the challenge and the opportunity to speak on this. This all started with me doing this business class, an MBA, where we had a course on AI, and I must say I'm probably the less technical one of the people who joined here. So my thesis is very much about what is AI and how does it fit into the digital workplace, and also how do we actually get started with this, because AI can be kind of a monster. I'll just share my screen here. So I think Hollywood is doing us no really favors with the whole AI thing, because when I think of AI and Hollywood, I kind of think of the Skynet. For those of you old enough, that's a Terminator reference. I think maybe it's not that bad. Maybe we will be able to do AI without actually ending up in a Skynet situation. Do you see my screen, guys?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the first thing I kind of ask in my thesis is AI a threat or an opportunity? I think the answer here is kind of depends on who you are and how you feel about change, because AI will definitely change the way we work, and therefore it has a lot to do with the digital workplace as well. I think so the way we work, the way we sell, and the way we collaborate, it will change. So the question which we'll ask you a bit later today is, how is this going to change your business, and also how much time do we have to get this do this change? And Gartner especially is talking a lot about the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So if you look at the first one, it was when we got steam power. The next one was when we started to get electricity. There's about 100 years between those. Another 100 years down the road, we kind of started to get a little bit of automation, a little bit of computer, and then something like 50 years down the road, we now have the connected world, where AI is one of the main drivers. So PricewaterhouseCoopers estimates by 2030, so that's in 10 years time, 9.9% of national domestic product will be driven by AI. So that's $1.7 trillion that is driven by AI, and 45% of all growth in these 10 years will be somehow driven by AI. So that's some very big numbers. So I guess you can do without AI, but you probably won't be doing as well as if you are looking into AI and investing in it. So if you look a little bit into something Gartner's been doing for many years is a hype cycle. They do this for many products, and they also done this for artificial intelligence. So looking at this graph, the idea is that some kind of innovation triggers a new product or a change, then you get to the peak of inflated expectations. So people get very excited about this new technology. Then things start to materialize, and you don't really get the benefits out of all these expectations. You probably have the first generation of this innovation area or technology is phased out, and you will see a second or third generation of this, and then slowly you come back, and then you, in a few years down the road, you will see some productivity coming out of this tool. And Gartner actually did this on AI. So all these words on this graph is somehow related to AI. And the light, yeah.
Sorry, Esben, which ones of? I mean, I get that these are all AI. These are all AI technologies, but I'm trying to sort of see which ones are perhaps specific to the digital workplace. And in fact, this is to all of you guys, actually. Which ones do we think are specific to the digital workplace? Because some of them definitely aren't. Any thoughts, guys?
Yeah, so one that stands out obviously is peak of inflated expectations, chatbots.
Yeah,
that's one we've heard a lot about and seen. We've delivered our own chatbot for a couple of customers. So yeah, that's one that really stands out.
Yeah, I think data labeling and annotation services is another one that actually I'd have expected that one to be a little bit kind of further ahead on the curve, because we've seen kind of things like certainly on intranets, we've seen kind of automated tagging technologies for tagging content and applying other types of metadata. Yeah, I think that's one that stands out as well for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting, John, that you should point out chatbots, because it is at the peak of inflated expectations, and I think there has been a push in that everybody wanted a chatbot. It is something that's quite easily done, but I guess maybe the value out of these chatbots has not really shown itself yet.
I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that, actually, because I think certainly one of the customers that we're talking to about chatbots, they've actually done their experimentation with chatbots specifically in the HR space. So they've created a chatbot, of quite a basic chatbot, that answers very common HR questions. So, you know, people saying, you know, how many days of leave am I entitled to, rather than how many days of leave do I have left? You know, quite standard questions and answers. And it's worked quite well, and it's taken quite a lot of, they're quite a big organization, it's taken quite a lot of pressure off their kind of HR call center. And they're now looking to say, okay, this has done some, you know, some good for us in terms of productivity. Let's improve it. Let's make it more intelligent, so that instead of saying how many days leave have I got, instead of saying how many days leave am I entitled to, you can actually ask it how many days leave have I got left, and that type of intelligence. So I think I'd say they're a bit further ahead with that. But sorry, I interrupted you a bit, Esben.
No, that's fine. It's good with some examples, and definitely there will be front runners out there. I just switched it to the next slide here, saying this is more an AI thought I have that you must offer intelligent tools to your employees for them to offer intelligent experiences to your users. So if your users expect something intelligent or extraordinary, you have to look after your employees as well. So I think that's the digital workplace and the digital employee experience coming together on that. Also, the ordinary will become demonetized. We'll look into that a little bit later, but you have to, in this AI world, you have to bring something more intelligent or extraordinary, enabled to make money out of this. But also with the hype cycle, it kind of says you have most of these things have 2 to 5, maybe 5 to 10 years before they actually get really productive and show productivity within the organization. But I don't know, Joe and John, if you want to run through some of these examples. We called out some of them.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, cognitive computing is kind of quite a big one at the moment. We're seeing a lot of movement in that space, and I guess particularly because Microsoft are actually making it so easy for us to leverage these tools. What I might do is I might take screen sharing off you for a second, if that's okay, Esben. I'll just kind of show the audience a couple of things that are happening with cognitive services, cognitive computing, facial recognition, all of this stuff that we've got that is really quite easy to implement inside of intelligent applications now. So you can see here, I'm just kind of on the Azure site. We've got this kind of really nice demo platform where you can actually see some of the services that they offer. And one of the services is called Cognitive Services. It's essentially a comprehensive family of AI services and cognitive APIs that make it really quick and easy for you to build intelligent applications. So there's one here, right, where I can find faces in a picture. I can send the service a simple image and it will return back in simple code or JSON where those faces are inside of that picture. So it's quite a nice kind of idea that I don't have to worry about building all of these AI services that are going to detect faces or do various things. I've just got this stuff straight there, and then I can use that data within my intelligent application. Another example is face verification, matching two pictures to determine whether it's the same person, or even looking at a photo and determining what that person is doing in that photo, whether they're happy, whether they're sad, whether they're surprised in this instance. You can see this photo was given a high score for surprise and happiness, whereas other photos, I can go over here, it detects all of the faces, it tells me these people are all happy. So we're simply feeding an image to a service. The service is doing that intelligence for us, probably, I guess you'd call it platform as a service, and it's feeding back to us the data which we can then use within our application. So an example of this in real world is Uber at the moment. When you use an Uber, the driver, when they log into their application, they have to show their face on the app, and it determines, is it that person that's actually driving the taxi, and are they allowed to work for Uber? So that's an idea of facial recognition that you've got there. Computer vision can actually go a step further as well and actually identify objects inside of pictures too. So you can see here it's identified a person and a skateboard based on an image that's been added. It's got other things that it thinks might be going on. So it's kind of said roller skating. It's got a lower confidence of board sport, riding, skateboarder, so on and so forth. It basically puts a confidence level against this, and then your intelligent application can then use this to do whatever it needs to present users with kind of better experiences. So cognitive services is certainly an area where I think there's plenty of stuff that you can do, and it's not kind of like, it's not really hard to achieve. Like you've got these really easy, simple APIs here that make all of this stuff within touching distance without you having to worry about building all of this kind of intelligence that must go into the background of figuring out, well, this is a person and this is a skateboard. This stuff is just straight there for you to use almost out of the box.
And so Joe, so I get you. These are kind of cloud services that are laid on by Microsoft, and we just need to connect our application or tool, whatever it is, to these services in order to leverage that artificial intelligence. Do Microsoft charge for this? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it is. They've got their out of the box services that have standard pricing of the amount of requests you make. You'll get charged on a bundle rate. So if you make 1,000 requests, it might charge you 0.02p a request, for instance. You can go a step further and create your own custom vision scenarios where you actually extend their platform. So their platform obviously goes so far, but you may want to do more with perhaps your algorithms, your way of interpreting images, and you can do actually more with that. There's separate pricing for that, but typically it's pay per request in bundles. So yeah, up to 1 million requests will charge you this, and then after that it will charge you a bit more.
Okay, cool. What would be an example where you actually extend the service that Microsoft provide? Can you think of an example for us? Not to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm just kind of thinking there.
Could you do something like, you know, we've been talking recently about doing a vehicle delivery app, haven't we? And we can use that service to check if the photos uploaded are photos of vehicles. So Microsoft can help us with that, right? But we could, I guess, you know, if we wanted to go to the next level of detail, we could actually extend the service to look for a particular brand of car, right? Yeah, exactly. Say Mercedes or whatever.
Yeah, or even perhaps look at the car and determine, has it got a smashed window, or has it got a problem with that car based on the look of it? Like, you can kind of extend this out further to do more things for your intricate requirements.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that's a good example. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a really nice, like, really easy way to implement. Obviously, like, all of the big cloud providers are offering this stuff. So Amazon, Google, they're all offering kind of similar services. But yeah, we've worked with computer vision and facial recognition inside of cognitive services, and it really is easy to implement inside of applications. So it's certainly one that is worth exploring further.
Great. Shall I hand back to you, Esben? Have you finished, Joe?
Yeah, that's
okay.
For me.
Esben, I'll hand back to you.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to talk more about the graph analytics and the chatbots.
Let's do that.
Oh yeah. So I mean, maybe it's one actually to pass back to me, Dan.
Sorry.
I know we're jumping around a little bit. Like, obviously, inside of Office 365, we're getting more and more information about our users. We understand who they're sending emails to, what time of day they're working on, what platforms they're working on, who they're working with. We've really got a wealth of information now when it comes to what we know about our users in Office 365. So graph analytics, I think, is another kind of big player in this area. Delve and My Analytics are one place where Microsoft have released a lot of features, I guess you'd call them, where you can see who you're collaborating most with, how long it's taking me to respond to important emails, if I've got various focus times throughout the day, if I'm working out of hours a lot. You get this kind of area within Delve that shows off kind of quite a good insight, I guess, into what my day-to-day work is like at Content Formula. But something that's recently been released is Cortana daily briefings. So Cortana daily briefings are something whereby it's kind of, I guess, going a bit further. It's looking at those analytics and then looking at the emails and determining, well, based on the emails that I'm sending and the language that I'm using, perhaps there's things I'm missing. Perhaps I could actually be working more efficiently. And so the Cortana briefing is an email I get once a day around 9:30 in the morning, and it looks at all the things that it thinks I haven't done. So I spoke to Colin about a sales lead, and I said 4 days ago, I will pick this up with John by Friday, but I've not emailed Colin back. Cortana's determined that there's a task outstanding here and that I should actually mark this as done, or actually just say it's not a task. Or here, I've said as soon as I have a further update, I'll let you know. I said that yesterday. Again, I've not put out an update for that yet. I can click done. I can reply to Damien and tell them that I've done it. Sam, I said, I'll let you know once the experience is up and running. Charlotte, I said, if you're not available, please let me know your schedule and I'll set up a call accordingly. So it's determined that I've got a task for that as well. So there's some quite nice insights and analytics that are coming out from just my usage of email and saying that, well, I'm talking a lot to these people and I'm setting tasks in my natural language, but perhaps I'm not actually storing them as tasks where I can just go and look at my task list. Cortana is trying to be intelligent enough at identifying those tasks and presenting them to me so I don't miss anything, so that I work more efficiently. And I think that's a really nice implementation of AI in the digital workplace.
And so this is kind of very much a sort of an off-the-shelf solution, isn't it? I mean, you really just need to switch this on. It's quite new, isn't it, Cortana? Is this available to everyone on Office 365? What's going on there?
So you've always had Cortana on Windows 10. Cortana's like their intelligent chat, like your Siri, essentially, in Windows 10. This is now rolled out to Office 365. I believe it's just gone through preview. I'm not sure this is general release just yet. I'd have to just check into that. But yeah, this is coming straight out the box. You're not going to have to train it. You're not going to have to teach it a whole load of things or connect it up to a lot of different systems. It's simply going to look over your Office 365 tenant and your emails and start processing them and sending people updates if you enable this service.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the key, isn't it? That I suppose probably quite a few organisations out there won't necessarily have this service enabled by default. But
of course,
if it's something that you have some sort of influence over in your organisation, it's obviously something worth looking at, maybe switching it on and trying it out to see, just to introduce AI into the organisation. I think it's quite a nice example, isn't it? It's really just a flick of a switch and you're using AI.
Exactly.
Great.
Do you know if this is coming to Teams at all soon? Because one of the things I thought when I started getting those emails was, this is really good. This is amazing that it's doing this. But given everything it knows, perhaps it should also know that I'm much more likely to see it if it's in Teams when it sends me that message than I am as an email. So I think that would be a nice enhancement if it was, just in Teams all the time now. So if it delivered those messages in Teams, they'd be a lot more effective, I think.
Yeah, I agree. If it's an actual, just a live look at my tasks, that'd be a much nicer experience, wouldn't it, rather than a static email? And yeah, I agree. Cool.
Great. So I think Esben, now is it the right time to pass back to you, because you were going to talk some more about your thesis, aren't we? Still on that, aren't we?
Yeah. These are a great example of we call it off-the-shelf solutions. They are off-the-shelf from Microsoft, but you will need to still do a little bit of configuration to get these up and running. I'm sharing the wrong screen right now. Do you see my screen?
Yep, we got it.
See the hype cycle.
Okay, great. So these technologies are coming down this slope, and they might not be completely ready, but there's features in here that can help you already and start to get this AI into your organization. So the question, the next question I asked is, how much time do we have? When will AI disrupt our business? If we agree that it will change the way we work, So how much time do we have? And there's a model of 6 Ds of disruption, saying in a disruption you will go through these 6 phases, and it's not specific AI disruption, it could be any disruption. So when will this disrupt my industry? It really depends on your industry. Some industries has gone through this already, and some are probably in the early stages still. The idea here is that you start with a digitalization, so you start to have things being moved digital. So I think we can surely say that most of our work is digital by now, or at least when we collaborate, we use Teams. And with this whole COVID-19 situation, I think more has been digital, been digitalized. The next phase, which kind of matches up with the peak of inflation, is deception. So people kind of get decepted by this change that's going on. You won't see it, and then the disruption will hit you, and that's where you see it and you kind of feel it's coming out of the blue, and people talk about revolutions and all this kind of things. My take on this is it's coming out of the blue because they haven't been watching, they haven't been aware of what's been going on. Digitalization and AI is not new, it's been around for many years. So if it's not something you're thinking about, you might be disrupted in 2 to 5 years, but you have time. Then there's the whole demilitarization, demonetization, and democratization. It's the further stages down. If you look at the music industry, they've gone through this. So you started by having your what do you call them, LPs. You had music like that. Then we had some we have some innovations, and then the CD kind of disrupted it. But even the CD got disrupted by Spotify and iTunes and these, and that's really the dematerializations going on. So you're going from something that's physical to something that's virtual. And then you could argue that you are in a demonetization, because instead of paying for a music disc or LP or even a music number, you're now just paying a flat rate to Spotify or iTunes to get your music. So that this is based on this model. All industries will go through this. It's kind of a scary thought, especially running a business like Dan is doing. So how is this going to affect our business, or how is this going to affect the automobile, the car industry? They will be going through this. There's probably somewhere around the disruption phase at the moment. So this process is going to happen, and you really have to think where in the process are our industry. And if you think this is not happening in our industry, you're in the deception phase. So if you think it's not happening, it's happening. But you've been. Sorry?
I think the mere fact that people have come to this this call probably realise it means that people realise of kind of beyond that phase of deception. I think so.
Yeah,
it's a good sign.
So the next question is, what can you do about it? Well, you can't really do anything about it because this is going to happen. I think what you can do is you can be sure to be a part of it and be aware that this will happen, and do changes to your organization, do changes to the way you work, the way you sell, so you will be part of this, be a disruptor instead of being disrupted. So if you look a little bit into that, so how do I get started? And Dan is not going to like this, but do not start an AI project. Please don't go back and say, I've been on this webinar and we now need to start an AI project. It's not the way to do it. This digital workplace report, which came out second quarter last year, it found that only around 5% of all AI machine learning solutions worked well. This is around 500 British CIOs, CTOs giving this feedback. About half said their AI solution needed work, and yeah, around 35% didn't even have any tools. So don't start an AI project. That's not the way of doing it. So what should you do? You should look into how your organization is working. So one of the things of AI is you have to go from a silo work to interdisciplinary. So what does that mean? It means you probably have to start looking into, do we really need a marketing, sales, and consultancy department? Or do we need a customer team? Or do we need a process team? So how do we move away from these silos to more interdisciplinary work? Do we need an R&D department and a sales department? Or could we somehow get these silos to work together? Also, you need to move from a leader-driven to a data-driven decision position. So start looking at the data you have. Don't just trust your leader or your CEO that we have to do this. Ask for data, and also be aware of how you can create data, because it's often you have to take fast decisions, and then if you have to start looking for data at that point, it will take too long. So you need to start thinking about how can we build data into the way we work, so data is available. And then the final, the third trademark is to be agile, experimental, and adaptable, because things change, technology change, and also because you don't do an AI project, you will have to experiment and learn down the road, and then adapt to these changes. So that's three trademarks of how an organization could do some of these. And then if you want to start, or if you want to pick your first project, then I really like this approach, saying, what are you trying to do? Because I think AI is so much more than IT. So you should ask yourself, what am I trying to do? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? And is AI actually the right solution for this? And there's just kind of three ways of doing this. One, it could be, do I just want to improve productivity? That's always something you hunt. That's why we do IT, is improving productivity. Or do you really want to reinvent processes? So do you want to go a step deeper and look into how we do R&D, or how we sell, or changing the whole way our business work? And the final one, which is probably standing on the other two, is reinvent your business model, saying we need to come up with a new way of doing business. So looking at, or making money, come up with a new way of making money. So looking at the music industry again, they had to go through this last one, coming up with a new business model. And they had a few years before they found the Spotify iTunes version, where the industry wasn't really doing very well and not making money. So you have to be in front of this and try to figure out what you want to do and to what extent. Also, look into industry. Where's the disruption? Where's the innovation in your industry? If you're in the car industry, it's the self-driving car that will probably change the world for you. If you're in the music industry, it's Spotify. If you are in the internet consultancy business, I'm not completely sure where the disruption is going to come from, but it's probably going to come from data, saying we cannot just send John and Joe out and they will tell you what's good based on their experience. They will have to show some kind of data. So these kind of changes is something I guess we'll see in our industry. But each industry is different, so you have to look into what is this, what is disruption in my industry. And then really think big, but start small. Choose something that's important to your industry or to your business, but it's still doable. So something you can manage to do, but think think of the big solution, think of something that will reinvent your process or reinvent your business, but then scale it back and say, if we want to be here in 2 years or 3 years, what can we do today to start this journey, and really map it out and say, how do we get to this point? What is the first step? And in that, I really like this agile approach of learning what's the problem, build a minimal viable product. Probably you should be able to build something with the technology Joe showed you maybe in a week or two. If you're planning a 3-month project, I would say you're doing something wrong again. You have to start really minimal, and then you have to start getting some effect. Another point here is how to get started is the importance of data. Because if you look at digitalization and the 6D model, it all starts with data. So you have to start collecting data. And if you don't know how to get started with AI, at least start collecting data. And if you don't know which data to collect, just collect it, anything, because that's kind of the starting point of all intelligence, is you have data. So and you have data. All organizations today have data. They have sales data, finance data, marketing data. Marketing is an area that's gone really digital. I think Gartner is saying 70% of the sales process is happening online now. So it's only the last 30% where the salesperson can make a difference. Human resources, you have human resource data, and you probably have more than you imagine, because as Joe showed us, using Office 365, it will actually monitor you people and how they work online. There could be some ethics in this, but one of the things I really like is the Cortana is also showing you how many meetings were you in where you wrote emails at the same time. That's an interesting insight. So if you look at that on an organizational level and saying in 50% of our meetings, people are writing emails, maybe we should change the way we do meetings, or something like that. You have production data if you're a production company, and then we're starting to see, I should say, IoT, Internet of Things. So you have some companies that's a lot of sensor data from the products or production area or whatever. A lot of data out there from sensors, which can also be used. Yeah, always when you do IT projects, try and get executive backup. Try and get some buy-in from management. And Dan, I think I'll just throw that back to you quickly.
What the point about getting
backup.
Senior management, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really important point, obviously, because typically those are the people that have the influence within the organization. They have the money as well to or access to the cash in order to run these projects. So I think Joe's shown that probably doesn't necessarily mean you have to have heaps of cash. And if you're only doing a project in 3 days or 3 weeks, then you probably don't need heaps of cash. But it does make sense if you do want to end up doing anything on scale, that you have got that senior level sponsorship. I'd absolutely go along with that. And certainly the projects that I think over the years, probably over the last sort of 18 months, 24 months, we've worked on a number of AI projects, mostly in the bot space, not entirely, but mostly in the bot space. And the ones that have failed, I would say, are those where it has been somebody's kind of little side hobby, and they've taken a lot of interest in it and kind of pushed it along, but they've failed to take people along with them on the journey, in particular senior staff. And those that have done well are those where they've really paid attention to senior management and effectively got them to sponsor these projects and managed to demonstrate the value to these people. And I think, yeah, the example I quoted at the start with the the HR bot is a really good example, because that's right at the client organization that we're working with there is right at the very top of the organization. At board level, we've got the head of HR who sits on the board, who's actually sponsoring that project, because they've said actually we can save a ton of money with a technology like this. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, it's always, and especially when it comes to AI, it's not an IT project. It's something that's changing the business. So you should have some kind of management stakeholder involvement, because, and if you think you're not changing the business, you probably should think a little bit bigger, and then you're probably on the right level for start, but try and think it a little bit bigger. And also, I put in here, try and create a cross-organizational core group. So maybe not call it an AI core group, but a group that works with these changes or technologies, being experimental with it. So again, try not to create a new silo with this. Try and do something cross-organizational.
Yeah.
And then I really just threw this 2x2 model in here, saying it's a great way of thinking about how can we utilize some of these tools within our industry. So which factors in our industry should we not offer anymore? That's a scary thought, but what can we stop doing? Because there is limited resources. So if you want to create something new, you need to stop doing something else. And you can eliminate it, or you can reduce it, and then you can raise some of the things you do, or you can create a whole new set of factors or features that the industry is not offering anymore. So you could use that, putting that onto the bank industry or the music industry, saying they reduced the number of physical things they have, and they created a whole lot of new virtual stuff, so such as online banking or Spotify and iTunes. So that's the way of thinking about it.
That's great. So thank you very much, Esben. That's been a really interesting discussion. I think I just wanted to ask something of our audience, actually. Has anyone can anyone tell us through the chat what AI technologies you guys have actually been working on? Just very quickly, just post some sort of indication of what those technologies are through the chat. That would be really interesting to play back to the audience, so we've got a bit of an insight there.
While they're coming in, those questions or those examples, quick question, Esben, about, you said collect lots of data. That's a really good place to start. Is there any way that you could use AI to do that for you, to help you with that data collection?
Yeah, there's various ways, and Azure offers a few good ones. You also have, we didn't touch too much about it, but you have the RPA, or the robotic process automation, where you actually you have a tool or software that can log into software and do stuff or extract data for you, just using the normal user login process. So you don't have to do a big integration. You can just use some of the software. And I guess Nintex, which you partner with, is pretty front runner on this, but also Power Apps, I guess, has some of these features.
Great. Okay, so people are rather shy, I'm afraid, on the chat. So I think that hasn't worked. So, yeah, maybe next time we should do it as some sort of a poll, so that people can choose which ones they've done. But yeah, I think so. We're just reaching the end of the hour. I just want to quickly close off with one final thing, that if you are looking at this space, if you're looking at artificial intelligence in the digital workplace, a really good place to start, and we've done this with a number of our clients, is to get a number of stakeholders in a room and present to them, show them what the art of the possible is. And we're always very happy to come in and meet your meet different organizations, meet different stakeholders in those organizations, and present some of the technologies that are out there. I think these are running this type of workshop is a really good way to kind of get people excited, to get them stimulated, and to get them really thinking about what's possible with technologies that are out there today. Because there's definitely a lot of stuff out there, and it's just waiting to be used. And it's not, AI it kind of sounds quite intimidating, but a lot of these services, as Joe illustrated, are actually there for us to use. And yeah, so I would strongly recommend you do that. If you want to run a workshop with us, then do please get in touch. You can find our details on our website, contentformula.com. So on that note, I think we're coming to the end of the hour. So thank you very much to our audience for coming today. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. We'll be posting this as a video on our website in the next day or two. And also thank you to John, thank you to Joe and Esben, our guest today. Thank you very much for joining us and telling us, talking to us about AI in the digital workplace. Thanks very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Yeah, cheers, Esben. Cheers, guys.
Thanks everyone. Bye.